Like vegan leather, that's just plastic with a catchy rebrand. Hi there, my name is Tessa, and I've partaken in my fair share of fashion-related discourse. But the one that's occupied my headspace lately is the conversation revolving around synthetic fibers, and how everyone is acting like they're the worst thing to ever happen to fashion. If you also spend a lot of time online, then I'm sure that you've seen the comments along the lines of,
$50 for plastic? That's crazy.
but with everyone regurgitating the same polyester, bad talking points, it just feels like a gross oversimplification of the situation that completely misunderstands textiles and garment construction. Now, I completely understand why people don't want to spend money on something that's just going to break the first time they wear it, but I'm not sure if that's a polyester issue or just quality has declined as a whole. I've actually been on a bit of a clothing no-buy recently for that very reason, something that my bank account is very happy about. And thanks to today's sponsor, Rocket Money, it's going to get even happier. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance app that can help you cancel subscriptions, lower your bills, and manage your money better. As someone who loves to shop, but is also trying to save, I love that Rocket Money can help me create a customized budget in just seconds, showing me exactly where my money is going and helping me identify my top spending categories. I'm sure you guys can probably guess what they are. Because I have a million different things going on, it can be really tough to track all of my expenses. But with Rocket Money, I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, even the ones that I've forgotten about. And with a few taps, Rocket Money can even try to cancel them for me. And they've actually helped their customers save over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. I mean, just think about all of the random things that you're probably subscribed to. So if you're looking to save more and spend less, join me and millions of other people using Rocket Money today. Just go to rocketmoney.com/Tessa or click the link in the description to get started for free. Now let's get back to the fashion talk. There are a lot of different steps when making a piece of clothing that will determine the quality of the final product, one of them being fabric. While a 100% cotton, silk, or wool label can be a great starting point for measuring something's quality, it's also important to remember that when it comes to natural textiles, they aren't all created equal, with everything from the variety to the environment it's grown in to how it's harvested impacting its durability, breathability, and softness. That isn't even taking into account other factors like the fabric's weave or weight, or if it's cut on the bias or crosswise, all of which can impact the stretch, finish, and drape. Because of all this variation, we use the same textiles for a lot of different things, like how jeans and towels are both made from cotton, but you probably only want to dry off at the beach with one of them. Now, where things get confusing for people is when we start talking about synthetic and semi-synthetic fibers, like polyester, spandex, rayon, nylon, and lyocell. Similar to natural textiles, their quality can vary. And obviously, lower grades will be more affordable. Just think of that really shitty costume that you picked up at the last minute from Spirit Halloween and how it kind of felt like wearing a trash bag. That is really poor quality polyester. But on the other side of the spectrum is Issey Miyake's revolutionary Pleats Please line, which took the rather cumbersome pleating process of the past and simplified it by sandwiching layers of polyester between layers of paper and using heat to lock them in place. Besides his choice in high quality polyester being breathable, durable, and stretchable, it was also able to maintain these pleats even after going through the washing machine, which just would not be possible with a natural textile. Most modern exercise clothes include some percentage of synthetic fibers, whether that's polyester, nylon, or spandex, which all have various benefits. The most obvious is stretch, which allows for a tighter fit without sacrificing movement, which is pretty important when you're in downward facing dog. They can also have moisture wicking properties, which means that sweat moves to the outer layer so it can dry more quickly. So you don't have to sit around stewing in all of your own juices. But the biggest pro, in my opinion, is one that most people don't even notice. With exercise being more accessible than it was in the past, and fashion as a whole becoming a lot more casual, people wear exercise clothing a lot more than they used to, which also means we're washing them a lot more often. But in this day and age, most of us are just throwing our sports bras in the washing machine without a second glance at the care instructions. Synthetics are able to stand up to this aggressive washing process a lot better than something like cotton or silk. So it's no surprise that they've become more common not only in workout attire, but clothing in general. I mean, be honest, how many of you are actually taking the time to hand wash your delicates? I know I'm not. I also think it's important to acknowledge that synthetic fibers are not a new thing, with polyester first getting popularized back in the 1950s for its low maintenance and continuing to be used throughout the 1960s and 1970s. If you own any vintage pieces from that time period like I do, then you can probably guess why it fell out of favor, as they hadn't quite nailed the feel of it yet, making it a bit too stuffy and scratchy to actually enjoy wearing. The construction was still leaps and bounds better than what we're seeing today, but no better than clothing made with natural fibers. And with people being more conscious about how they spent their money back in those days, they simply stopped buying polyester. Spandex reigned supreme over the 1980s, as you can probably guess from the neon tights, and in the 1990s, polyester got an upgrade that made it way softer and stretchier than its 1970s counterpart, and it became increasingly common to see synthetic fiber blends. In fact, you can basically thank synthetic fibers for the entire Y2K aesthetic, like the nylon joggers and the super stretchy mesh crop tops. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that every single piece of clothing on the market should be made out of polyester. I mean, a great wool sweater and 100% cotton tee will always be superior. But dismissing anything because it incorporates a synthetic textile without even considering why that might have been the best choice for the design is just the fashion version of judging a book by its cover. I've said it before, but you are not entitled to style, and it is not a human rights issue, something that a lot of people struggle to understand, as evidenced by them being completely okay with the exploitation of workers in the global south just so they can buy the latest microtrend. Billion-dollar business owners don't really care about ethics either, and they're more than happy to supply that growing demand. And in the fast fashion space, clothing has become increasingly lower quality and lower priced. I mean, even if you compare Forever 21's clothing from the 2000s versus what they're selling now, it's worlds apart. One of the most common ways for companies to maximize their profits is by switching over to 100% low-grade polyester. And when combined with little to no quality control, it results in a shoddy product. Instead of making the connection that cheaper prices results in cheaper quality, people have decided to pin all of the blame on synthetic fibers, even though most of them can't even tell the difference between polyester, rayon, or nylon, not to mention why the percentage in blends actually makes a difference. They genuinely think that just because something is made with a synthetic fiber, it's automatically the same quality as SHEIN. And because of that, it isn't worth spending more than $20 on. But like I already said, it could be using a higher grade of synthetic fibers or have a design element that just isn't possible with a natural textile, at least not at a price point that the average person is going to want to buy. There's been a huge increase in people saying that they want nothing to do with polyester, but at the same time, they want their clothing to act like polyester and be priced like polyester. An impossible contradiction that just proves they don't actually know what they want. When you demand a higher quality, it comes with a higher cost. So if you want a 100% silk satin gown, then you better be prepared for the price that comes with that. However, with that being said, just because something is a higher price point and has a luxury brand name on it, that doesn't actually mean that it is a higher quality, which is why it's super important to learn those markers on your own. Now, a big part of the synthetic versus natural debate is the environmental impact. And considering polyester is literally made out of petroleum, I think that it is more than fair to criticize that aspect of it. Besides long-term wear probably not being great for our bodies, although what is nowadays, the fact that every time it gets put in the wash, it also creates thousands of microplastics is not ideal. And while one of the biggest selling points of synthetic fibers is its durability, what does that mean when you're done wearing it? Well, look no further than the 100 million tons of textile waste that we have no idea what to do with. With that being said, natural fibers are not automatically eco-friendly either. In fact, denim is actually one of the most environmentally damaging fabrics in the entire fashion industry, thanks to the amount of water, land, and energy required to grow cotton, not to mention all of the chemical pollution from the synthetic dyes and pesticides. Along with the increase in polyester usage, there's also been a rise in greenwashing, with brands hoping to trick consumers into thinking that they're more sustainable than they actually are. Like vegan leather, that's just plastic with a catchy rebrand. Whereas actual leather, which humans have been wearing for literally thousands of years, at least stands a chance of being biodegradable. And as long as people eat meat, animal hides are going to be a byproduct. we might as well use them. Now I know that it probably sounds like I was team polyester this entire video, but at the end of the day, I genuinely think that we should all be buying less. And if you do have to buy, then do so wisely. Whether it's made out of synthetic or natural fibers, try to find something that will not only last, but also makes you feel good while wearing it. And as every fashionista knows, a truly great wardrobe doesn't happen overnight. And whether that means pinching pennies for a few more weeks or spending more time hunting for it secondhand, it's worth it if it'll last you for years and years. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!